Hey, welcome to My Mama Summer. My name is Aimee Devlin. I'm an unconventional millennial mother living abroad, building a business and raising children while stepping into who she's meant to be. This podcast is an audio version of my newsletter, which you can find at mymamasummer.com. The episodes are short, wholehearted reflections of my life as a mother, business owner, and everyday human committed to being the best she can be. Pop in your headphones, grab a cuppa and a cookie, and take this time to just be with me. Welcome back to My Mama Summer. It's Aimee here, and this is my moving cities update. It's been a month since we moved cities from Ajijic in Jalisco in Mexico to another city called San Miguel de Allende in the state of Guanajuato. And the last month has been so much for me. It's been a roller coaster of emotion. I've experienced grief, elation, doubt, bliss, certainty, connection, deep conversations, amazing food, you name it, I've experienced it. I am so glad we made the move to San Miguel. And let's face it was a lot to move. We were very embedded in our community, in the town we were in, and we had the most beautiful support and assistance via our nanny. And that's why it took us so long to leave, despite knowing for quite a while, for years actually, that that city wasn't for us. And I say city, but it was a town. It was a village, really. And I shared in a previous episode, Retirement Vibes to Family Thrives, the reasons why we were making the move and what we anticipated would improve in our life as a result of making the move. So this is my update to share with you what has happened over the last month, so you can see some of the things that have happened, some that haven't yet, and what has unfolded for us. One of the things that we were really searching for was to be connected with friends, to meet other people of similar values and in a similar stage of life, i.e. raising young children, and to connect with them in a deeper way. We had some incredible friends in our town that we moved from, and at the same time, they weren't in the same phase of life as us. And that's not a prerequisite for being friends with someone, but it was a gap that we had in our life and something that we really felt we needed more of. So on the friends front, I shared previously in my episode entitled When Making Adult Friendships Feels Like Dating that I have met so many beautiful people since we arrived. And there's been a marked difference in the way that has happened. Just for instance, meeting people at the farmer's market or the supermarket or the school or the playground has really flowed for us. And it's been so wonderful to have conversations with other parents that we can joke and laugh about how challenging it can be to raise young children. The lack of sleep, the strong will, all of the things that come with parenting a toddler. It's so important to be able to share that with people instead of pretending everything's rosy all the time and sweeping our challenges under the carpet. I mentioned our nanny earlier. She was such an integral part of our life that there is a big hole there still that we haven't fulfilled. And I don't think we will ever fill the whole of her. I'm still secretly hoping she'll come live with us here. I'm sure at some point we will meet someone who's able to help us with supporting us to parent our child and give us a little break here and there, because I feel like that is such an important thing for parents. Otherwise, we lose ourselves and our connection with our significant other. But I've definitely experienced some version of grief since we arrived. Not that I'm not experiencing joy and elation, because I shared that I am experiencing those things. But at the same time, there's a paradox, and we have to grieve the life that we left as well as revel in the joy of the new life we've created. The day that we left was so intense. I was hugging our nanny. I didn't want to leave her. I didn't want to get in the taxi to leave her because it was so big for me. And I spent the entire ride to the bus station in tears. I had swollen eyes and I felt so much guilt for taking my daughter away from her because they are like best friends. It's truly the most beautiful thing to have another woman you can rely on to be the second mum, to help you parent your children. That's something that I've had since she was very little. And to not have that now is a big change. That's one of the biggest changes that I'm experiencing right now, is that I'm the only mum. I had a backup mum. And that means my life is currently very full. in a beautiful way. I'm spending so much quality time with my daughter and I'm working way less. I've condensed my working hours into about 3 to 4 hours a day. And the rest of my time is spent enjoying my new city with my daughter. We've gone on so many beautiful adventures. There are so many things to do with her here. There's playgrounds, there's parks, there's other families to spend time with, there's beautiful food, cafes. It's really night and day compared to where we came from. So I feel like I'm thriving in that aspect. I'm so grateful for every day and the adventures that I can go on with my daughter. Even just going to the grocery store to pick up organic groceries is such a delight for me because I didn't have that where we were before. So I'm able to spend a few hours doing that with my daughter and we have beautiful conversations, we sing songs together, and I am fully aware as I'm living it that these are like the golden years of her childhood. And I feel so blessed to be able to be spending these moments with her, and I'm squeezing every second of joy out of them. The quality of food that we were able to access in this city is mind-blowing in comparison to what we had. It's almost on par with what we had in Byron Bay in Australia. We have a lot of organic food. We have a high level of regenerative, sustainable-oriented foods, meat, dairy, and I'm super grateful for that because that was a huge part of why we moved here. I have cooked almost every meal. I think we've ordered Uber Eats twice since we arrived, whereas before we were averaging 4, maybe 5 nights of takeout a week because I had no energy left to cook. I had no inspiration. I had no place to go to be inspired. The way that I like to cook is by walking around the supermarket and finding one ingredient that really inspires me and then making a meal based on that. So we've had so many beautiful meals. We've had friends over for dinner and I've cooked for them. We've been over other friends' houses and they've cooked for us. And it's this beautiful reciprocity, and we're meeting other people in other networks with kids of other ages. And this is something that is so important, I feel, for families. This has been my dream for so long and it's finally here. While we're on the topic of food, we have also eaten out quite a few times with friends. We've met up with entrepreneurial friends, spiritual friends, friends from the school, and every single restaurant we've been to has had insanely beautiful food. We have not had a bad meal yet, and I say that not to jinx myself, but to inspire you with the quality of food that's available here in San Miguel. There's a real focus, not only in the groceries, as I mentioned earlier, but in the restaurants of connecting with local farms and ranchers and suppliers that really care about where they get their food from. And that really aligns with my values and what I feel is super important for me and my family. So inspiration is one of the words that I would say I've been experiencing a lot of, not only by the food, the people I'm meeting, but also by the city itself. The streets are so beautiful. Our neighborhood is full of beautiful old trees. There's an incredible park nearby. Brendan's been using it as his gym. And I've averaged an insanely more amount of steps each day because I just walk, because I feel like walking. Whereas I used to feel so contracted around that. We don't have a car. We are using Uber. We're using taxis. We're getting rides with friends. And in many ways, I love that because I feel more elevated. If I'm driving around all the time and I'm having to be the bus driver, my car's dirty, or I have to think about all these types of things, I'm not as relaxed as I am when I'm able to just order an Uber that's 4 minutes away, hop in the back, and somebody drives me where I want to go. I actually really love that. And maybe at some point, we will feel like we want to get a car and explore more widely. There are some beautiful cities nearby we could go to. Querétaro is one of them, which we definitely want to explore, Guanajuato City. We're in a beautiful place in central Mexico where we now have the ability to do that. I think we're about 2 or 3 hours away from Mexico City itself, which to me is beautiful. And at the same time, it's too big for me. I'm not a city human. But it's beautiful to be able to access some of the things that we have really felt starved of in the years that we've been here in Mexico. So I feel like I'm coming back to myself. I'm not contracted. I feel excited at the possibilities that lie in front of me each day. And this is one of the biggest reasons why we decided to make this move. I've got my mojo back. I'm cooking food at home. I'm sitting on the rooftop watching the sunset and the fireworks and making tea for myself, lazing on the sofa. These are things that I haven't done for years. I just feel in flow. I feel like looking back that in so many ways, we kept getting reamed in many ways. We couldn't find what we wanted in the city that we were in. And yet, since we've moved, we have experienced a level of what I can only describe as flow everywhere we look. There's been so many, quote, random occurrences that have all been confirmation that this was the right move for us. And I'm so grateful that we listened to that call. And yes, it took a long time. It took us 3 years to make this move, but we finally did it. I feel like Brendan and I are masters at this point of leaning into the discomfort that comes with reaching for your dreams. We have, throughout the almost 11 years we've been together, continually pushed ourselves and lent into the discomfort that comes from putting yourself first and asking for more and recognizing that you're not on the right path and perhaps you need to readjust your sails. I've been doing that since my Saturn return when I was about 27. As I shared with you in a recent episode, that one was called Rising from the Ashes, which was a reflection of that time. And it felt like everything was not right in my life. My relationship, my job, my home, my city. And I had to put it all out on the lawn, say bye-bye, and welcome in the new. And that was the first time I started doing that. And I've done that ever since. I feel like that's a really good muscle to work, is continually asking yourself, am I on the right path? Am I feeling lit up? Am I feeling inspired? Am I feeling in flow? I was regularly not feeling all of those things. And yet I was pushing through. I felt like I had to keep going and I was doing it to my own detriment. And yes, I finally listened, took the leap, and here we are. So my guidance for you is if you're feeling like you're on the wrong path or you're not lit up or you feel chained to work to your own detriment, you feel a lack of connection in your relationships, you feel like you need more out of life, is to really take an audit of your life, every avenue, your living situation, your job, your city, your relationships, your friendships, to ask yourself if you're on track. And if you're not, to really look at that and to see what you do want. What would you like more of in your life? And really call that in. And I say call that in not from a airy, fluffy manifestation perspective where you sit back and do nothing. Write down what you want and make it happen. You're the leader of your own life. And as someone who has regularly sat back and been a spectator in her own life, I would say don't wait a minute longer. Jump in that driver's seat. Make the changes that you feel are necessary, whether that's moving cities, starting a business, quitting your job, disconnecting from habits or relationships that don't serve you anymore, and just going for it, choosing more of what you do want. My days are currently so full from sun up to sundown of joy and connection, a little bit of work, a lot of laughter. And the reason for that is because I was brave enough to say no to a life I didn't want and yes to one that I deserve. So I'd love to know, are you currently on track? Are you a little bit off kilter or are you incredibly off path? Take this as your sign to do that audit. Ask yourself, do you have what you want? And if not, are you willing to call it in? Thanks for listening. See you next time on My Mama Summer. As always, please leave me some feedback. I love to hear from you, comments, and also leave me a review on your favorite podcast app if you enjoy this podcast. Lots of love. If you enjoyed this episode and like reading as much as you do listening, I would love to welcome you as another subscriber to my newsletter. Head on over to mymamasummer.com to subscribe and let me know what you loved most about this episode. I love hearing your feedback. It's my favorite part of sharing what's on my heart. I'll see you over there. Have a beautiful day.